In this lesson, we'll start to adjust the cloth properties of our sweater so it behaves more like a sweater should. In the previous lesson, we saw that our sweater was way too loose. So what we'll do in this lesson is take a look at a few properties that control that type of behavior, and then we'll start to adjust those properties so that by the end of this lesson, we have a much better look to our sweater. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. With our cloth object selected, notice Maya will automatically load in the properties we need to start to adjust the cloth object's dynamic attributes. So underneath our endCloth shape node, we'll find parameters to adjust collisions, dynamic properties. Let's go ahead and expand this as well. And then later we'll take a look at our quality settings to get an even better look, a more polished look to our cloth. But first, we're going to go ahead and take a look at a few properties underneath our dynamic properties dropdown. Now, remember, again, the cloth was way too loose, and that's simply due to very low resistance values. So you can see here we have a low stretch and compression value. With a low stretch value, that will cause the cloth to stretch even more. And a compression value, when that is too low, well, that will cause the cloth to really bunch up way too much. So for a more thicker material, we're going to want to definitely increase these two parameters, and as well as our bend resistance, so we don't have much of a bend in our material. So those will definitely have to change. Something else I'd like to point out to you is our thickness parameter underneath the collisions dropdown. So here's how we can adjust the actual thickness of our cloth. What's great is that Maya will actually create an interactive display for us so that we can go ahead and take a look at what it considers this thickness to be. So if we were to go ahead and switch our solver display to collision thickness, take a look at that. Now we have an idea of how thick this cloth truly is, and we could either increase that value or decrease it depending on what we need. So for our sweater, we would definitely want something a bit thicker. I might stick with about 0.5. And then from there, we can start to take a look at the character's thickness. So for rigid surfaces, they also have the same property. So I'll go ahead and switch the solver display to collision thickness and take a look at that. And we may increase this to about a value of 1. That way, we can prevent interpenetration between our cloth object and our character's skin as much as possible. Great, so at this point I'll just go ahead and turn off the solver display on the character. We can go to our character's cloth object, and I'm going to switch this now to self-collision thickness. Now this is another really cool option because this will adjust the thickness of our cloth without actually adjusting the, let's say, the thickness in our folds. So this is a way of making the cloth appear to be a little bit more rigid and resistant to deformations, while still giving us some really nice folds that we would love to see from adjusting the thickness parameter here. So we may go back and actually tweak this value. But right now, let's go ahead and leave it as is because I'd like to show you something really neat. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the solver display on the cloth object, and I'll tear off the attribute editor. So if you take a look at the top right, notice we have several presets we can choose from to get a different type of effect from our cloth object. So notice we have silk, heavy denim. Take a look at this. We can also work with a t-shirt preset, and that's what we're going to use initially. Before I apply this, I'm going to go ahead and scroll down until we get to our dynamic properties, and now watch what happens when we go ahead and choose our t-shirt preset. If you take a look at the top, we can go ahead and replace all values, or we can replace all selected channels, or we can blend between what we currently have and this t-shirt preset. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and choose replace. You can see that Maya has gone in and changed a few of our properties here so that this cloth object will behave as a t-shirt would. And then it also has created a note that lets us know what it has done, and it gives us a few tips as to what we can change to get a different look. All right, so let's now go ahead and bring our attribute editor back. Just go ahead and dock it back over to our right. And we're now going to go ahead and create a cache file for our sweater. As we start to increase these values, Maya has more to compute, and it's going to start to slow down the solve. So what we'll do is simply go ahead and create a cache file so we can play this back in our scene, and we could also choose to create a play blast to view the animation in real time. So in order to create a cache file, simply head over to the cache menu and choose Create New Cache. We can go to our options and I'll reset the settings. So you can see here's the directory to get to the cache file. And then from here we can change the name of the cache folder. So I might go ahead and name this sweater. It's a bit clearer. Everything else is good to go. We want to cache every frame. So I'll pause the video and now create a cache for this object. And now that the sweater has been cached, here's what I'll do. I'll go ahead and hide the NURBS curves in the scene. We're going to go ahead and focus just on our perspective view here, and we're going to go ahead and create a play blast so we can take a look at how this plays back in real time. But take a look, you can also play back and just kind of take a look at the speed you get within Maya, but it's always safe to do a play blast, so that's what we'll work on. If we were to head over to view, we can go to bookmarks and take a look at our camera angle from here. So this is like our shot camera view. This is what counts. So from that point, we can now go to Window, Play Blast Options. I'll reset the settings. No need to play blast the entire range, just the animation. So we'll choose Start and End. The start is frame 60, and our end time is 130. I like to work with the FCheck window, so we can use IFF as our format. We can increase our scale to 1, so we have a nice large view to work with, and feel free to save this out if you'd like. But I'll now go ahead and pause the video and create a play blast. And here it is. So as you can see, we're getting a much better look from our cloth, but we have a few issues. I'll go ahead and stop the play blast. You can see that there are some areas where the cloth intersects, so we'll need to fix that. And overall, it's too loose still. So we'll need to go in and start to adjust our resistant values, and we'll take a look at some other properties we can use to get some really nice results from our cloth object. So let's say we go ahead and stop the lesson here. In the next lesson, we will fix the sweater's behavior. And then at that point, we just need to do a few more things to finish up, and our sweater will be finished.